best and worst driving test centres in London. These are updated figures for 2021, so 2021, and they're official figures from the Driving and Vehicle Standards Agency, which is a government body that conducts the tests. Subscribe to see more videos. We currently have well over 100 videos just about the driving test, and more being added weekly, so you can subscribe to that if you like. First of all, the 5 best driving test centres in London, and this is the first one. This is the 5th best, so we'll count them down 1 to 5 or 5 to 1, and this is the 5th best. This is in Borehamwood, and it's a 1 Stirling Court, Stirling Way, Borehamwood. And you can see that the test pass rate here is at 53.8%, which is 3.5% above the national average. So that's not too bad. You know, the national average is 50.3, then Borehamwood is 53.8. It means that you're more likely to pass than you are to fail when you go to here. So it's not a bad result really. Not a bad result. The 4th best test centre in London is on Tudor Road, Morden, and that's at 54%. So it's only a little rise, but it does mean it's 4.2% above the national average, which again is at 50.3%. So you can see that we're gradually building up, and that's the 4th best driving test centre in London, Greater London. The next one, then the 3rd best one, is in Brentwood, and I've spent quite a lot of time in Brentwood myself. It's quite a nice place in parts, and that's in Essex. That's on 89 Worley Hill, and that's now 55%, so 4.7% above the national average. So national average again is 50.3, as I keep saying, and you can see these are all kind of more, it's quite consistent really. There's small rises between them. The 2nd best driving test centre to go to if you're going to take your driving test in Greater London is at Douglas House, Douglas Road, Tolworth, and that's 5.4% above the national average, which, as we know, and it has a pass rate of 55.7%. So these are updated figures for 2021, so this year, and this is for Tolworth. These are all from the government website. And the best one, the best driving test centre to visit if you want to pass your driving test in London is in Sidcup, and that's at 2 Crayside, 5 Arches Business Estate, Maidstone Road, Sidcup, and that stands at 55.9% pass rate there, and that's 5.6 above the national average. So all of these 5 are all above the national average, and what that looks like is this. You can see that there's a steady rise there from Borehamwood through Morden onto Brentwood, Tolworth and Sidcup, and a nice steady rise there. And well, that's the best 5. Let's have a look at what the worst 5 driving test centres are to visit in London. And the 5th worst is in Croydon. And we can now see that in Croydon we have gone below the national average. And in fact, this is 9.9% below the national average. So if you're near Croydon or in Croydon, or there's a test centre close to you that you can go to avoid Croydon, well, it's probably a good idea, because this is now 40.4% pass rate for 2021. The fourth worst driving test centre to visit is in Enfield, and this is on Solar Way in Over Park Business Centre. I don't know why I struggle with the word Innova. There you go. Business Park, Park Business Centre in Enfield, and that's a full 10% below the national average. So 40.3%. What it means is out of every 10 people that take their test in Enfield, only 4 pass, which is ridiculous, really. And now that's all of these figures. You've got to bear in mind that it's not because you have bad instructors in Enfield, quite the opposite. It's not because you have bad pupils in Enfield. The most common denominator are the test centres. So try and avoid them if you can. The third worst driving test centre in London is in Chingford, and that's on Doric House, or in Doric House. That's not a picture of Doric House, by the way, 128 Station Road, and it's now gone down to 39.7%. 39.7%, which is 10.6% below the national average. So that's now getting quite serious, really, in terms of where to take your test. If you're in Chingford, look somewhere else. The second worst driving test centre to visit in London is also the second worst driving test centre in the whole country, and that's on Woolwich Road in Belvedere. Now that's at 35%, or 35.9 to be fair, percent, 14.4% below the national average, which is a big drop, really, considering, So Belvedere in London is the second worst driving test centre to visit. The worst one is in Erith. Now in Erith, this also in Belvedere, by the look of things, I've not been to this place, so but this is 31.9% below the national average. So that now means every 10 people that take their test in Belvedere, in Erith, should I say, get it right, in Erith, only 3 pass, 3 out of 10, which is really, really poor. Again, the common denominator is the test centre. It's not your examiners, it's not your pupils, it's not your instructors, should I say. It's the test centre. So there's something about that test centre that means only 3 out of 10 people will pass, and that's 18.4% below the national average, which is the worst in the country, worst in the whole of the UK. Erith. And that's what this looks like now. And you can see that there's a gradual, again, drop off from Croydon there, right through to Enfield, Chingford, Belvedere and Erith. It looks like a gradual drop off. But actually, if you live in London, what you can say is if you went to Sidcup, you will be 24% more likely to pass the driving test than if you live in Erith. What the reason for that is, that's a local thing, and well, there is a reason. And if I was you and I was living in Erith, I would think to myself, right, well, okay then, let me find a different test centre, because I've paid a lot of money for my driving lessons, I've paid a lot of money to take the test, and I'm going to get a 24% worse chance of passing. They're just the facts. So there they are. That's the 2021 Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency figures, straight from the government website, and that's the best and worst driving test centres in London. Like I say, subscribe. You can see there's at least well over 100 more videos just about driving tests, about how to pass, about how to drive to pass, that will make sure that you pass. Lots of actual real test routes on there, and actual examples of real people taking real driving tests. So give it a look, and that's it really. All the best with everything. I hope it all works out for you, and I'll see you in the next video.